I just thought I'd take you on a little journey inside my head. This is like a mental health chat. I was going to do a live, but then sometimes it's kind of like I can't hold on to my thought because so many of your comments are so meaningful and kind of interesting and appropriate and apt that I get distracted and snagged. Anyway, I want to take you on a journey into my head, and I want to see if this is a journey that you can relate to. I feel like I've got a mania in me today again. I feel incredibly full of potential, full of can-do, full of I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to get this done, I want to get that done. And then at the same time, I feel it's coupled or it's chained to a total sense of it's all totally pointless. It's stuff that doesn't need to be chased, doesn't need to be done, won't fundamentally change how I feel in myself. Stuff that's going to need to be done again. So what I'm saying is I can see and feel that I want to do all these things, and then behind them I quite quickly see the end of them or the beyond point of them, so that they end up not being things to necessarily want to achieve. So a deflation kicks in, a sense of preemptive, not failure, but preemptive gloom and pointlessness creeps in. So I was saying earlier whilst I was recording for the vlog, when I'm left on my own and in my own head and in my own space, as I am being done today, on the one hand, it's something I so desperately crave. The clarity, the silence, the privacy, the solitude, the space, the ability to beat to whatever drum it is that I'm going to beat to. But therein lies the problem, because the drum that's beating in me is like a jazz drummer on acid. It's like there'll be sudden frenzied solo sessions followed by just a drum brush that's kind of just slowly scraping across the top of the drum skin. Then there'll be a crash of cymbals. Then there'll be a moment where all the bloody drum kit just falls off the stage and lands in the audience. And so it's discordant. Sometimes I'll find a rhythm. And the best places I find a rhythm are when I am, immersed fully in either editing or writing or filming or doing stuff like that. I can really lose myself. But even that stuff is so cerebral that it's not like you are not aware of your mind. Do you see what I mean? So a minute ago, I was thinking to myself, I'm going to go next door, go to the room opposite Maddie's room, and I'm going to sort out all my old clothes. I'm going to sell the ones that don't fit or that I would never wear. I'm going to pull the ones out that I discover every now and then and I wear, and I'm going to think, yeah, I'm going to wear them. I've lost weight, I've worked out, all that kind of stuff. And then a part of me goes, what's the point? I'm 50. What's that? What was that thought? I was thinking, what's the point? What's the point? And so all the what's the points are really hard. I spend most of my day, there's a phrase in recovery speak called going on geographicals, which is the idea that it's like, I found myself, fortunately it was through work, I found myself in the far-flung regions of the world, South America, the Arctic, North America, India, even New Zealand and places like that, Indonesia. You find yourself in these places, and the one common problem is you haven't escaped yourself. You've gone on a geographical because you think it's going to change you, and it doesn't change you. All that changes is the scenery, and the same boring, demanding, self-critical, moaning voice is still there in your head. But I don't have to go abroad to go on geographicals. I go on geographicals every minute of every day. I am roaming around all the time. Now, I said something earlier, I was filming it for the vlog, so sorry if this is a bit repetitious, but I was talking about the fact that I intimidate myself when I'm with myself. I get intimidated. There's a bully in me. I spend most of my time trying to ingratiate myself, trying to sort of people please myself in order to have some kind of calmness or some kind of respite or some kind of, I don't know, just letting go. So I'm running around the labyrinth of my brain and my heart thinking I could do this, I should do that, I would do this if I had this time. I'm watching the clock tick away and I'm getting frantic thinking, oh my God, they're all going to be back at this time. I'm not going to fit things in. I should. And I want to be of service. I want to tidy, but at the same time, we spend most of our fucking lives tidying everything up after everything we ever do all the bloody time. And this is time for me, but am I allowed time for me? Is anyone allowed time for them? Shouldn't one always be doing something for someone else? The girls are happy, the girls are sorted, the girls are doing things today, but. And there are constant buts. And it's bloody exhausting. So, you know, this geographicals thing happens in my head. I go on geographicals in my head. I spend most of my time traveling to islands of worry and islands of stress and islands of incompletion. There's always jobs that need to be done. There's always things that need to be done. There's always people reminding you that there are things that could have been done, should have been done. There's always something else that could have been done. And I'm reading a book at the moment that I'm going to review in this week's Sunday show. And it's a clever book because it puts you in the position of being able to, in a sense, almost test drive the lives you never lived. And one of my frustrations with life is that you can never fully tread one path or follow one fork in the road. And you can never fully go back to the fork and test drive the other fork because, of course, we live in a linear fashion. So to go back to the fork in the road and even try the other fork, it will be different to if you tried the other fork without having gone down the wrong fork in the first place. Do you see what I mean? And so, you know, when you come at things, when you think about things, when you think about the choices you've made for yourself and the choices you make for your family and the choices you make for your children or the choices you encourage your children to make, there are constantly going to be other choices that could have been made. And sometimes I worry that in life, one of the causes of so much sadness and depression and stress and anxiety is the sheer number of choices we are given. It's like they say somewhere, we're not supposed to know over 1,000 people. We're not supposed to know over 25 people. And yet we're all plugged into a network where we feel we all know far more than that. And we are known by far more than that. And there are many pluses to that. I mean, this community that we have here is a hugely positive place for good. And yet at the same time, I do worry that some of the unhappinesses that we feel and some of the stresses that we feel is that there are so many choices, more choices in every walk of life than there are lives to live within one person, if you know what I mean. We have so many different lives sort of dangled in front of us or passing before our eyes. Let's take the idea that it's done by some kind of Machiavellian person sort of dangling an evil life in front of us. It's not even done like that. You know, these lives just pass our eyes because the technology allows them to, because our lives allow them to, because the speed with which we move through life is getting faster and faster. And the way in which communication happens, we can, you know, as best as possible, empathize with a 93-year-old living in Bognor if she's online, because she can communicate with us and share her experience with us in a way that we would never have been able to imagine in the 70s or the 80s or before that. And then sometimes I think that all those choices make us feel impoverished in a weird way. All those choices in a weird way make us feel poorer, even though what they're trying to say to us is you can be richer. And I think sometimes that's why we're all slightly depressed and we're all suffering with anxiety. And it's not as simple, although it potentially is as simple, as saying remove the choices, don't make so many choices, don't have so many choices. But it's human nature, isn't it? To either want a bit more or to wonder what if. What if is a massively difficult concept. What if is something that I think is like an Achilles heel to most humans, isn't it? What if I did this? What if I did that? I mean, my biggest what if is when I see people blighted much further in their lives, older than me or my age now, with alcohol or drugs. I do often think, what if? What if I'd carried on? What if I'd continued? For sure, I wouldn't be here. And so there are choices, what are the fundamental choices? And I'm sat here today thinking I've got so many, and I mean, these are incidental, menial, mindless, very private, personal, potentially vloggable, but maybe not, choices. But they're kind of like, they're almost a metaphor for the bigger choices we have in life. COVID has really made us have to face the choices we've got and the fact that perhaps we had too many. And that perhaps the fact that we have some removed isn't always a bad thing sometimes. But that said, I'm sat here now and I am harried, harassed, stressed, perturbed, intimidated, and bamboozled, to be honest with you, by the constant number of choices I keep throwing before myself. So it leads to a sort of emotional paralysis. I'm like that.